Hi, I'm Matthias, and today I'm going to be rummaging around the attic of my dad's shop. I'll show you some cool junk and some old projects. Since my dad passed away, the shop doesn't get used for woodworking very much anymore, and my mom just likes it as a place to store junk. My mom and a friend are going to make some apple cider here soon, so I set up the press and the grinder, and that all seems to be working. I've made covers for the cast iron tables of all the machines, because that way, with temperature changes in the spring, there won't be any rust from condensation on the tables. Okay, let's head up to the attic. This is the attic trapdoor, and it's got this really cool counterweight system. To help raise this door, there's a rope that goes up here to a clothesline pulley, and then to another pulley up here, and then a big box full of rocks to act as a counterweight. To keep the door from falling all the way open, I built a stand on the back, but that stand would sometimes bounce and bounce it shut again, so I added this box full of sand to absorb the shock. Lots of old junk up here. This power hacksaw here, if you go to a German museum in Munich, they have exactly that same model on display. Lots more junk, wires, whatever stuff my dad collected. This corner here is old technology junk of my brother's. He's a bit of a pack rat. And then moving on around here, this is the corner where I stashed my stuff. So this is my pile of junk. I've got some old motors and stuff like that here. Some big ass transformers. Some tube amplifier, a little reel-to-reel tape deck, an old typewriter which I used to use on top of an old oscilloscope, another reel-to-reel, a homemade fan with a spiral housing, and my experiments at building geodesic domes. And both of these are the same topology as the one I made a video about recently. This one I made each triangle out of 3 pieces and stapled all those together along with glue. And then on this one, I made the triangles out of solid pieces. This was an experiment at relief carving, an old car radio, a collection of speaker magnets, and an oil furnace ignition coil. These are so much fun for high voltage experiments. Here's a life catch mousetrap that I built. The door is raised like this, and then this keeps this from sliding back. There'd be a rubber band here which is long failed. And when the mouse steps on here to get the bait, that pulls this up, which pulls that back, and then the door closes. And of course this is normally closed. Underneath this plastic is the last batch of chairs that my dad built. He was already quite declined when he made these, so the quality is not as good as he used to. And he never made any tables and such to go with them, so they're all still here. And back here we have some more interesting junk. Some motors that my dad saved, and here's an interesting toy that I built when I still lived here. So this is a little remote controlled forklift. No batteries on it, it just ran off of a long wire that plugged into here. And the 2 main wheels are powered by 2 old wiper motors, and there's a caster on the back, but the 30-year-old rubber has failed. The main lifting mechanism is 2 hand-cranked window lifters from a junk car. There's the gear here, another gear here, and both of those are powered at the same time through this shaft, which is powered with an old belt, and that's turned by another windshield wiper motor right here. And the lifters used to have a scissor mechanism like this to keep the windows parallel. I cut that off, and then I stick welded that with my dad's welder. First time I tried that by trial and error. And that supports the fork. The tilt mechanism is with this thing here, and there's a VW wiper motor here, and when that turns, that winds the rope back and forth, and there used to be a rubber band here to keep it taut, and that tilts the fork up and down. The reason this thing has sprockets instead of wheels is because I swapped those out because I wanted to make this whole thing trap driven like this. So this would be a rear axle, and the chains go on here, And I had all this working, but what I found is when I was driving this thing on the grass, the tracks here had way too much traction with the grass, and so it became just about impossible to turn side to side with this thing. So I got rid of these things again and just left the sprockets on there, which had much more traction on the grass. I built this in December of 1985, and I had actually quite a lot of fun playing around with it the next summer, because it's actually quite powerful, and I'd lift pieces of firewood and boat anchors with it. The only real limiting factor was traction on the wheels and how much it could lift, because it would just raise the back end. I just took this old VW Beetle wiper motor off of it because it's got a much nicer sound, and that might work better on my failed baby soothing machine. Well, I hope you enjoyed following me in this rummage through the attic. Sorry, didn't have time for a new project video this week.